When I look at the story of every person who has ever accomplished something meaningful, whether it's a student defying the odds, an entrepreneur building something from scratch, or a leader standing up for what's right, there's always one common thread. They believed in themselves before anyone else did. Self-belief isn't arrogance. It's not pretending to have all the answers or acting like you're perfect. It's about trusting that, even when things get tough, you have the ability to learn, to grow, and to keep moving forward. It's knowing deep down that your voice matters, that your actions have power, and that your future isn't written for you. It's written by you. There will be moments when you'll feel like you're not good enough. People might tell you that your dreams are too big, or that your background or circumstances define your limits, but none of that is true. History proves again and again that the most extraordinary achievements often come from the most unexpected places, from people who refuse to accept limitations placed on them by others. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to start. Start by believing that your ideas, your work, and your presence matter. Start by choosing to show up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's where real success is born, not in ease or certainty, but in the quiet, determined belief that you are capable of becoming more than what others expect of you. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for everything to be just right. Start where you are, believe in who you are, and keep pushing forward. Because when you believe in yourself, you set the foundation for others to believe in you too. And from that foundation, anything becomes possible. That's where success truly begins. Success doesn't begin with a perfect plan, a lucky break, or even raw talent. It begins with the belief that you are capable of achieving something greater. Self-belief is the seed from which all accomplishment grows. Without it, even the best opportunities can go unnoticed or unclaimed, simply because we don't think we're worthy of them. When you believe in yourself, you give yourself permission to try, to fail, and to try again. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth, and you begin to act like your dreams are valid because you've already accepted that they are. That inner confidence becomes the compass that guides you when everything around you feels uncertain. It's what keeps you going when the odds are stacked against you, when people don't understand your vision, or when life hands you more setbacks than successes. Self-belief doesn't guarantee that you'll win every time, but it does guarantee that you'll stay in the fight. And often that persistence, rooted in the quiet, powerful conviction that you are capable, is what ultimately leads to success. You don't need to have all the credentials, all the connections, or the perfect background. What you need is to believe that your story matters and that your contributions can make a difference. Think about the people who have accomplished great things. They didn't always start from positions of privilege or certainty. Many began in the shadows, underestimated by others, but never underestimating themselves. That self-belief gave them the courage to raise their voices, to take risks, and to keep showing up when quitting might have seemed easier. Self-belief is not something you're born with. It's something you build moment by moment through small victories, personal promises kept, and lessons learned from failure. And once you have it, even in its smallest form, it becomes a force that can carry you forward through the hardest of times. Because at the end of the day, before anyone else can believe in you, before you land that opportunity, before you make that breakthrough, you have to believe in yourself. That's where everything begins. Self-belief is often misunderstood. People sometimes confuse it with arrogance or ego, but in truth, it's something much quieter and far more powerful. It's not about thinking you're better than others or pretending you have it all figured out. It's about recognizing your capacity to learn, to grow, and to overcome challenges, even when things don't go as planned. When you truly believe in yourself, you understand that your value isn't tied to perfection. You don't need to get everything right the first time. You just need to trust that you can keep moving forward. This kind of belief isn't loud or showy. It's the steady confidence that says, I may not know how yet, but I'll figure it out. It gives you the strength to take on new challenges without being paralyzed by fear of failure. It allows you to ask questions, to admit when you don't know something, and to keep showing up, because you believe in your ability to improve. That's what sets self-belief apart from ego. Ego hides behind false certainty. Real belief embraces growth. When you believe in yourself, setbacks don't define you. Mistakes aren't the end of the story. They're just part of the process. Every successful person you've ever admired has faced doubt, criticism, and failure. What made the difference wasn't that they never struggled. It was that they kept going despite it. And they kept going because they believed their efforts would matter, even when the results weren't immediate. Self-belief is also about resilience. It's the inner voice that says you are worthy of trying again, even after falling short. It's what lets you dream bigger, reach higher, and step into rooms where you may feel like you don't belong, because deep down you've accepted that you do. You may not have all the answers today, but with time, effort, and trust in yourself, you know you can grow into the person who does. This kind of belief isn't built overnight. It's earned through experience, through showing up on the hard days, and through keeping your promises to yourself. It's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to try, to learn, to evolve. That's the kind of belief that builds success from the inside out. One of the greatest obstacles to success isn't failure. It's the belief that someone else gets to define your worth. Too often, people let the opinions, doubts, or low expectations of others dictate what they think they can or cannot do. But the truth is, no one else gets to write your story. External voices may be loud, they may come from places of influence or authority, but they do not determine your potential. Only you do. There will always be people who underestimate you. They might look at where you come from, the way you speak, your background, or your experience, and decide that you don't belong. Some may even mean well. They might be trying to protect you from disappointment. But regardless of their intention, the result is the same if you listen. Your dreams get smaller, your confidence weakens, and you start to live within the limits others have placed on you. That's why it's so important to build a strong inner voice that can rise above the noise. Your potential isn't fixed. It isn't limited to what you've already done or where you started. It's something that expands as you do. Believing in yourself means refusing to let the doubt of others take root in your mind. It means recognizing that their opinions, while sometimes loud or insistent, are not facts. They are reflections of their own fears, their own limitations, not yours. History is filled with stories of people who were told they would never make it. People who were dismissed, doubted, or outright rejected. And yet they succeeded, not because everyone believed in them from the start, but because they didn't let disbelief stop them. They kept showing up. They kept pushing. They built their success in the face of skepticism, not in the absence of it. When you believe in yourself, you take ownership of your path. You stop waiting for permission to act. You stop shrinking to fit into other people's expectations. Instead, you step forward with courage, even if your voice shakes, even if no one else sees your vision yet. That kind of belief is powerful. It turns doubt into fuel. It makes room for possibility. And most importantly, it frees you to become exactly who you were meant to be, not who others assumed you would be. It's easy to assume that great success is reserved for those who had everything going for them from the beginning. People with wealth, influence, connections, or natural brilliance. But time and again, the real stories behind extraordinary achievements tell a very different truth. Many of the people who go on to do great things don't start from a place of privilege. In fact, they often come from circumstances that seem anything but ideal. What they have in common isn't where they started. It's the belief that where they start doesn't have to be where they finish. Extraordinary success often begins in the most ordinary or even difficult places: a single parent home, a struggling neighborhood, a classroom where expectations are low, a workplace where no one looks like you or understands your background. What sets certain individuals apart is that, despite those conditions, or maybe because of them, they hold onto a deep, internal belief that they are capable of something more. That belief becomes the fuel for their ambition. It pushes them to ask more of themselves, to work harder, to dream bigger, and to keep going when giving up would be the easier choice. These people aren't waiting for everything to be perfect before they take action. They aren't paralyzed by what they lack. Instead, they focus on what they do have: determination, curiosity, and the drive to prove that their circumstances don't define their ceiling. They are willing to take risks, to fail publicly, and to be underestimated. They are willing to stand alone for a while until others catch up to their vision. That kind of resilience and conviction doesn't come from having an easy path. It comes from choosing to walk forward even when the road is uncertain. What this proves is that success is not just about resources or luck. It's about mindset. It's about grit. It's about believing that your story is not over just because it started somewhere humble. In fact, that starting point can become your strength. It gives you perspective. It keeps you grounded. It teaches you how to fight for what matters. And when you do achieve success, it's all the more meaningful, because you didn't just climb a ladder that was handed to you. You built your own, you created your own chance, and in doing so, you remind everyone watching that greatness can come from anywhere. One of the biggest myths about success is that you have to wait until everything is perfectly in place before you begin. People often hold themselves back, thinking they need to be more experienced, more prepared, or more confident before they can take that first step. But the truth is, progress doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from having the courage to start even when things are uncertain. Waiting for the perfect moment usually means waiting forever, because perfection never truly arrives. What matters most is your willingness to begin where you are, with what you have. Starting is powerful. It turns ideas into action and dreams into goals. The moment you decide to move forward, no matter how small the step, you shift your mindset from hesitation to possibility. You may stumble. You may feel unsure. But in moving, you begin to learn, and through learning, you begin to grow. Every person who's ever accomplished something worthwhile began with some level of uncertainty. They didn't have it all figured out, but they chose to move forward anyway. Success is not a straight line. It's a process of trial and error, of adjusting and improving. You'll make mistakes. You'll encounter challenges you didn't anticipate, but each experience teaches you something valuable, and every failure carries lessons that success often doesn't. None of that growth happens if you stay frozen in place, waiting until you feel completely ready. Readiness, more often than not, is something you grow in, not something you start with. Even when the first steps feel small or awkward, they are still steps forward. Starting creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Each action reinforces your belief that you are capable of doing more. You begin to see that fear doesn't have to control you, and that uncertainty isn't a reason to hold back. It's a reason to lean in and prove to yourself what you can do. So don't let the need for certainty keep you from moving. Don't wait until everything feels safe or clear. Begin now. Begin messy, begin nervous, begin unsure. But begin, because the path to success doesn't open up when you have all the answers. It opens up when you take that first brave step into the unknown and decide to trust yourself enough to figure it out along the way. Believing in yourself doesn't just change your life. It influences the lives of everyone around you. When you walk into a room with quiet confidence, when you pursue your goals with determination, when you show resilience in the face of difficulty, you become an example. You give others permission to believe in themselves too. That's the ripple effect of self-belief. It starts with one person and it spreads. People take notice when you refuse to give up. They pay attention when you take chances, not because you're guaranteed success, but because you trust yourself enough to try. Your self-belief becomes a kind of silent leadership. It doesn't boast. It doesn't need applause, but it inspires. It reminds others that they are not alone in their struggles or their hopes. And in a world full of doubt, that kind of inspiration is rare and powerful. When you believe in yourself, you carry that energy into everything you do. Whether you're speaking to a crowd, working on a personal dream, or helping someone else chase theirs, your confidence becomes a foundation that others can lean on. People begin to see what's possible because of the way you carry yourself, the way you handle setbacks, the way you show up consistently and unapologetically. This is how movements begin. This is how communities are strengthened. This is how the future is shaped, not by those who have every advantage, but by those who choose to believe in themselves and, by doing so, make it easier for others to believe as well. So, if you take only one thing with you, let it be this: success is not about having all the right conditions. It's not about being the smartest, the richest, or the most connected. It's about believing, even in the smallest moments, that you have something valuable to give, that your journey matters, that your voice deserves to be heard. Start with that belief, nurture it, protect it, let it grow, because when you believe in yourself, you light the path not only for your own future, but for others who are waiting to believe in theirs. That is where true success begins, and that is how it endures.